Greetings, salutations, and welcome to After Action. I'm your host, Patrick Kreeger, and I'm joined, once again, by Matt.
What's going on?
Now, Matt, our listeners don't know this because of our recording schedule, but this is Matt and I's first non-shark related adventure that was a film.
Indeed.
Since Jason X.
Yeah.
So, we watched Death Wish. Watch, don't watch.
102% watch.
Snap. I would say the same. I'm going to now read the back of the box. In this explosive story of revenge and urban violence, Charles Bronson plays Paul Kersey, a bleeding heart liberal who has a change of opinion as his wife and daughter are violently attacked by a gang of thugs in their apartment. His daughter is sexually assaulted and his wife is murdered. Bronson turns vigilante as he stalks the mean streets of New York to prowl for muggers, hoodlums, and alike. Death Wish is a violent, controversial film that is frank and original in its treatment of urban crime and the average citizen's helplessness in dealing with it. Herbie Hancock wrote the musical score, and watch a young Jeff Goldblum in his film debut as one of the thugs. So, Death Wish. Our movie more or less opens on Jeff Goldblum.
Yes. And acting like the hoodlum he plays causes a ruckus in a local supermarket and proceeds to follow two women to their apartment.
Yes, and I do hate to say I led you astray. Our film starts off actually in Maui.
Oh, yes.
With Charles Bronson and his lady love on a beach. And as we know things about Charles Bronson films, his lady loves are almost always raped and murdered. So I told Matt to not get too attached to her.
Because I get attached to people in films.
I would imagine not.
No.
I had not seen this film. This was a first time viewing. It's actually really interesting. On the back here, it shows our hero pointing at a young Jeff Goldblum with a gun.
Misleading.
That is misleading. I don't think he ever kills him.
Well, no, he's on the subway. Clearly, he's on the subway.
No? That's him on the subway, yes.
Yeah.
They are not on the subway.
No, that's what I'm saying. They blurred those three, pictures together.
So why don't you just tell me what you thought of the film? Just
100% loved it. It was the greatest movie I have seen in a very long time. And, oh my gosh.
Why?
So many good messages.
This is probably the most conservative film out there.
At least. It has to be.
Yeah. It's interesting. It is like one of the most politically charged films I've ever seen.
100%. They put dialogue in there that wasn't necessary to like the plot or anything. And they're like, well, because the whole movie is based around, urban crime and how the majority of it, unfortunately, is, being, carried out by African Americans. So this couple was having an argument at a party.
Yeah,
and
right in the center of the screen.
Right in the center of the screen. And she was like, well, of course, more blacks are dying because, unfortunately, they're carrying out most of the crime. And would you have us ramp up the amount of white crime so as to accommodate
equality?
An equality, and it was great.
Yeah, because they were talking about, is the vigilante racist?
Yes.
I did actually notice that earlier in the film when he's like flashing money around, hoping that someone will come and rob him. And these two jive gentlemen.
The jivest of gentlemen.
With the biggest of afros. This did take place in, I think, 1974. Yeah, 1974. Follow him. And presumably, well, not presumably, they do rob him.
Yes.
And he deals with them.
Indeed.
But one of them gets away, kind of, half, sort of.
Yeah.
And he gets stabbed.
Yeah, he gets stabbed. Charles Bronson gets stabbed.
Yeah.
But it doesn't affect him or slow him down.
No, it doesn't. It just makes him stronger, if anything.
Throw some, some gauze over it and call it a day.
So let's talk about the three hoodlums that break into the apartment.
Yes. Jeff Goldblum and two others.
And two others who will remain forgotten to the mists of time.
Yes.
One of them calls himself the Artist.
Yeah, because he has a spray can.
Yeah. This was one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen on film. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, he, sprayed just miscellaneous lines on walls.
Well, that wasn't what was disturbing about the scene.
No, it wasn't. But that was the lead up. That was disturbing to me.
Yeah, what's weird is he didn't paint on the paintings, is what I expected him to do.
Well, I mean, yeah, that was kind of weird because they didn't take it either.
Yeah,
like the paintings to sell or whatever.
They had to apparently reuse those in some other movie, probably. But there is quite a violent rape scene shown on film. It's not clear if she actually gets raped, but she's definitely sexually assaulted.
Yes.
And it is hugely uncomfortable for me to watch, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And somehow they beat the mother to death?
Yeah, apparently he beat her with something, some small black object. It honestly looked like a gun mag, but, I mean...
to me, it looked like a sawed-off billy club.
Yeah, I don't
know. Maybe it was a roll of quarters.
Who knows?
Because of later.
Indeed. But doubt it.
Maybe. Too smart for this film?
Way too smart.
This was a big film. My mom said she saw it in theaters.
Interesting.
For what that's worth. I somehow thought there'd be more to talk about with this Death Wish film. We can go through a play-by-play, but that's about, most of what I can do. So I'm going to walk us through it, and as you think of things, let me know.
Sure.
So we have the initial scene where the three thugs break into the apartment. They break in by posing as grocery delivery boys.
Mm-hmm.
Which I didn't realize is a thing, but makes sense in a city like New York where you have to walk everywhere.
I figured you just take your groceries with you.
Yeah, I just figured you shopped more often.
Or more locally.
Ooh, snap. In smaller amounts, I suppose.
Yeah.
But anyway, so these three thugs break in. They sexually assault the girl. They spray paint her bottom, which was disturbing. And, yeah, graphicness. But if you can get past that, then it's only violence from then on.
Yes.
So you have that to look forward to. Our hero here, Man with Gun.
Man with Gun.
Starts out as...
That's his Indian name, by the way.
Starts out as a bleeding heart liberal, as he says.
Well, as he was declared.
Yeah. My heart bleeds a little.
Well, yeah, one of the...
disadvantaged?
Yeah, well, one of the cops or someone was, telling me, what did he say? It was, I
think he just flat out said, "You're a bleeding heart liberal.
You're just some, bleeding heart liberal or something." It was hilarious.
And he said, "My heart does bleed for the underprivileged."
A little. For the underprivileged.
A little for the underprivileged. So his wife and daughter get, sexually assaulted and raped and murdered and all that good stuff. That's a joke. Just don't be too serious. But anyway, so that happens, and that, he goes and buries his wife, and then immediately after that heads to the police department to find out what can be done. And they basically said, nothing ever gets done. Sucks to suck.
Yeah.
And so he's like, that can't possibly be. So his knee jerk is to go buy quarters?
Yep, he went and turned in a $20 bill for $20 in quarters, put him in a sock, and strapped up, as it were.
Yeah, but was that before or after he went off to Arizona?
No, that was before, I believe.
I think it was after.
No, because after he had his gift with him.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So
he already had the taste of freedom.
So this guy robs him, or attempts to rob him, and he just punches him in the face with a fistful of quarters, and gets that out of his system. and he kind of like gets a rush from it.
Yeah. He just feels like invigorated and just, proud and safe. But I think there was also a glimpse of, if my wife only had something that she could have defended herself with, or, my son's daughter or my daughter's or my daughter. I don't.
Yeah,
it was unclear the relationship between those two.
Yeah, he keeps kissing this woman awkwardly close to her lips. Like, just right on the edge of her mouth.
I mean, she is kind of, like sedated. They said that she was on some pharmaceuticals, as it were.
But, yeah, we're not really sure. Like, they say daughter, and he says daughter, but then he also calls the guy his son. At points, he calls him his stepson. The stepson calls him dad.
Well, he was referred to as son-in-law.
Yeah.
So that's what threw me off.
Son-in-law, not stepson, sorry.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, if he's your if he's your son-in-law and he's calling you dad, okay, I know people do that, but then he kept calling the girl honey and sweetie and baby, and that's a pretty close term of endearment, and I wouldn't say that would be a stepdaughter kind of thing to say. Or not stepdaughter, daughter-in-law, or whatever that is.
Daughter-in-law. I kept saying stepson, so that confused you. I'm sorry. Yeah, this film, the family dynamics were interesting and confusing, but we'll ignore all that for the moment. His boss does like a really nice thing and says, hey, man, maybe you just need to get out of New York for a while.
Yeah.
We got this project going on out in Arizona. Why don't you go and spend some time out there? And he goes and has like a,
life-changing experience in Tucson.
I was going to say, you know what this film almost is?
An ad for Tucson?
A weird interpretation of Dances with Wolves.
It's really just go out to Calico.
No, listen to me on this. He goes and he hangs with the natives, that being a gun guy.
Well, yes, a gun guy in Tucson, and he also is a wealthy guy because he's outsourcing a gnarly project to some company in New York.
So he's the head of an architecture firm that can't do the project alone. It's too big for their company. So he's getting this other architecture firm from New York to help him out.
Stupid.
They have branches all over the country.
Oh, that's right. Right.
I think this was just the branch that was in Tucson.
Yes. They're like, yeah, we have that branch in Tucson. Have fun.
So, anyway, the gun guy, shows him guns, and he...
All revolvers and, old, 1800s guns.
Yeah.
Such.
They watch a cowboy show.
Yeah,
He gets inspired.
He gets very inspired. He was having a blast.
Wow. Yes, he was. This man smiles way too much for a man whose wife was murdered and daughter was raped. I'm sorry. I'm going out on that limb here. It snaps. He breaks. Also, the daughter just ends up in a mental institution.
Yeah, she gets committed because the husband is over it, and she keeps freaking out on him, and he can't touch her, like his hand on her shoulder or anything. So
her husband brother,
and so he just commits her, and it's like I got to go to work. I can't handle this. So
yeah, that was really weird. They never explained how much time went by.
No, they really didn't.
It felt like a period of a couple weeks. They're like, oh my God, lady, you didn't get over your rape in 2 weeks? To an asylum with you.
Yes, that's what we do with people.
I found that weird.
Send them away.
So, anyway, he goes out, he learns about guns. Well, he doesn't learn about guns. Turns out he knew about guns.
He was raised around guns.
Yes, his father was a hunter and got killed in a hunting accident.
Some dude thought he was a deer.
So he says.
And that's why we wear blades orange. So as to not get mistaken for deer, because I don't know about you, but I don't look like no deer.
Sometimes it's also best not to wear blaze orange. But that's a story for another day.
Indeed.
So, anyway. He He comes back, and the guy says, "Hey, you checking that bag?" He's like, "Yeah," and he like gives him a present.
Yeah, he's like, here's a large present and then a slightly smaller present.
Did we determine what was in the smaller one?
It had to have been ammo.
I thought there was ammo inside the box.
See, I think there was an initial amount and then there was extra amount because he kept killing people.
This is a slasher movie.
This is a slasher movie.
From the slasher's perspective, but the slasher is a good guy.
Yeah, this is as if Jason was a good guy.
Yeah. I don't know. There's not too much to say about this film. That's the weird thing. He's merciless.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're supposed to agree with that or not. Where he, like, will walk up to people and finish them off.
Yeah, like, so he shoots a guy, all right, the guy goes down, and then he shoots another guy, that guy goes down. He'll walk up to the first body, and the guy, like, he may live if, medical attention is,
Post-haste.
Yeah, most days. But then just sends another round downrange at the dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, you're done, and then goes to the other guy, kills him, and then makes sure he's, everyone's dead.
And he likes these long distance shots.
Oh,
too.
he's an ace. He's a regular marksman with like what looks to be like maybe a 3 to 4 inch barrel.
Yeah, it's a little 32 pearl handled pistol.
Yeah,
nickel plated. I don't know. It's interesting, and I just love the inscription on the box. To Paul from like John.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was kind of funny.
Wheel guns clean up the crime in New York City.
Yeah, and so that was one of the things is like this is like a real social commentary. This is the Happy Feet.
Yeah.
Of self-defense movies.
Which is so bad. Which this movie is so great. But...
Well, yeah, I just feel like I want to explain my reference.
Do it.
Happy Feet is a movie about dancing penguins.
Yes.
That was supposed to teach people about global warming.
Yep.
This is the equivalent, but for self-defense.
Yes.
And they even show that. Like, there's little clippets where they're talking to people on the news, and this one woman's like, I defended myself with my hat pin.
Yeah, and then...
That's a thing, by the way. People used to use hat pins as weapons all the time. Like, that was a typical thing. But I did find it funny when she's like, we keep it, we use them to keep our hats on our head. Which... I don't know. I've never used a hat pin. I always thought they were just pins on hats. I didn't realize they were actually to pin the hat to you.
Yeah, no comment.
No comment?
No comment.
Well, that's what she said. And so anyway, I found that interesting. This film is just old enough to where things are funny.
It's very odd.
Like quite a few of their issues are caused by not being able to find a payphone.
Yep. Not being able to find a payphone, not getting medical attention, the... Why do I always have a lack of words whenever we record? I don't know. I'm a bumbling idiot.
Man.
With not being able to get, medical attention at the appropriate amount of time.
Yeah.
And, there's just a lot of things that, cell phones. Cell phones would solve 90% of their issues, unfortunately. That technology is what we rely on so, much.
Yeah, I heard this little factoid today, and I have no idea if it's true. I haven't, done my due diligence. But the little factoid was that violent crime has not gone down since the 90s. Lethal crime has gone down since the 90s. And the guy was making the argument that it's because of cell phones and the the gratuitous amounts of cell phones we have today.
Yeah, dude, I don't think talking is
Talking is not our thing on this, talking podcast.
Yeah, I'd rather mime it.
You know what's funny? Dear listener, whoever's listening to this, Death Wish is one of those quintessential films that you must see, and therefore people are going to be looking for reviews of it. This will be someone's first impression of our podcast, and if you've made it this far, thank you. We have produced better content in the past, I will admit. The shark films and the James Bond films are, better content. But I just love the concept of someone stumbling across this as their first introduction to our podcast.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, honestly, it's a quintessential watch if you are pro 2A, against 2A, any sort of like, on the fence. It is a real raw description and, metaphor for why it's so important to be well versed in, guncraft and, self-defense in general, and the importance of, staying on your track or in your craft and, just keeping safe.
And paying attention to your surroundings.
Yeah, hugely beneficial.
What's funny is they show like 9 times out of 10, the situations he is in is because he put himself in that situation.
Yeah, he tracks these people. He lures them in.
He's out at places alone in the middle of the night. Yep. These typical things that people tell you, don't do these things. He does. Like one of the guys even says, "Oh, you shouldn't be shopping with groceries because it means you have a ton of cash on you." At the time, people had to carry cash to buy groceries. Your hands are busy, and so like that's a good mark for a mugger. I don't know. That was interesting. The thing though is that it very quickly goes from him wanting to get revenge on the people who raped and murdered his family, and him going on this power trip of wanting to kill people.
Well, not just kill people, but kill bad guys, kill muggers, the people that are potentially responsible, because we will never know who is responsible in his eyes for
they'll never know
the killings and raping of his wife and daughter, daughter-in-law,
female family unit,
some sort of maybe bloodline, who knows, but he'll never know who the killers are. And so he has to take it upon himself to single-handedly take everyone down.
There are a couple other things that I want to note about this film. One, gratuitous shots of the Twin Towers.
Oh, tons.
Which makes sense, but it's awkward now.
I just revel in its glory.
It made me feel bad.
Oh, I felt invigorated.
Name this gun on the cover here.
I can't.
Nor can I.
It looks very odd from the barrel out.
You guys will be seeing a photo of the cover here. If you know what that gun is, let us know in the comments down below. I can't figure it out. It looks like a cross between like a P-38 and 1911.
Yeah, but like with the slide taken apart over the barrel, like what is that?
I don't know. I've been staring at it this whole time, and it kind of confuses me.
I mean...
So, in other news on this movie, the police eventually catch him, and oddly enough, the guy who collects the gun is Christopher Guest, which is kind of interesting.
This isn't even the gun he uses.
It isn't the gun he uses.
So, what is this?
It's a photo from another movie he did.
Oh my lord.
I think he was in Ghetto Blaster. I don't have my phone, so I can't tell you if he was in Ghetto Blaster. But yeah, that looks like something that would be in Ghetto Blaster. Anyway, so they finally catch him because he got into a shootout. So this is one of the things that people could take away from this too, is the first time he's met with another guy with a gun, he loses.
Yeah, he gets clipped.
Yeah. And he does this whole Western, he won't shoot the guy unless the guy's armed.
Yeah.
Which is weird because he's more than happy to shoot people that are running away earlier.
Yeah, I mean, if you potentially struck up a conflict with him, you're fair game. Regardless if you have your knife in hand or not, or gun in hand or not, he will shoot you.
Yeah.
And he is never gonna lose.
Yeah, and he didn't. But the other guy did get away.
The one guy did get away that stabbed him, and then the guy that...
No, the guy that stabbed him died.
Well, he got away.
Yeah.
And he didn't finish the job. Time did. But the last guy in the end...
the guy that shot him.
The guy that shot him. He... I want to say he clipped him too.
Yeah, she totally shot the guy.
And then
but the guy still got away.
Yeah. Which means change the caliber.
Yeah, 32, man. But anyway.
Yeah.
So he gets caught, and Christopher Guest finds his gun, and he ends up in the hospital, and the police chief that's been trying to track him down this whole time because they're trying to track down the vigilante, which makes sense. You can't have people taking justice into their own hands, but man, the police system looked corrupt in that city. You know, they couldn't do anything.
Well, I mean, New York is corrupt.
So they meet up with him at the hospital and say, "Hey, man, we can make all your problems go away. You just need to get out of New York."
And then he rebuttals with, "By sundown."
Oh God, that was so corny.
Yeah, but it was such a, you know, like, what is this, a Western? Like, you're gonna shake me, you know? But then he does.
Yeah.
And then he leaves. It's like, okay. But then he goes to what we thought was Milwaukee.
There's a giant sign that says Milwaukee.
Yeah, and then, psych, you're in Chicago. Which, by the way, great place to, you know, transfer from New York to Chicago. And then the guy meeting him in the subway or airport or whatever it was, I was like, I think you'll really like this place. You know, we're gonna have a good time here. And then they notice this lady, you know, get, you know,
roughed up
more or less, you know, from some hoodlums. And I don't know why everyone was just like fine with this. There were tons of people around.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh yeah, I mean, they picked you today, not me, thank God. I get out.
Yeah, even the guy that was talking with him was like, yeah, this is just something that happens. It's like pigeons flying around.
And then, so Charles Bronson walks over there, helps her up, you know, with her bags. And then he looks over at the assailants and just kind of smiles and forms a gun with his hand, you know, with your index and thumb. Gun. And then just kind of points at him and smiles. And I think he winked. I want to say
he did.
And that's how the movie ends. And, God, so good.
What's funny is, at the beginning of the film, he's talking about how I'm not much of a hunter, like my father was. But then he becomes a hunter.
Yeah.
Like, he's actively hunting these people. He's not just, I don't know.
It's no longer self-defense. It's he's putting the assailants on defense, which is critical in a fight. You have a significant advantage in success if you are on the offensive. And I mean, that translates to most things in life, where, you know, being on the defense is never a good thing. But it seemed to work out in his favor. And moving to Chicago, it looked like he was just going to get back in the same routine and start putting himself in some sketchy situations just so that he can take advantage of the people taking advantage of others that aren't so strong.
I completely agree. Now, there is one final thing I want to say about this film. This is typically one of the films that people drag out and say, isn't this a great bad movie?
Why?
I would argue that it's not a bad movie.
It's the best movie we've seen so far as, like, dialogue and everything, like, so far as, like, an actual movie goes.
Yeah.
Like, this is the best movie we've seen together.
Yeah, of these films.
Yeah, I mean, we saw shark films that were clearly bad, and obviously Jason X wasn't, like, you know,
the best.
Home about, but, you know, this seemed like the most professional.
Yeah, like, you know, people bash this film. They say, like, you know, oh, it's like Raiders of Atlantis or, you know, or Ghetto Blaster.
That's surprising to me.
Yeah, it's a real film. I wouldn't say it's like, you know, Oscar worthy or anything like that, but
the director should have won.
But it's not a bad film. So, people out there, stop calling it a B movie. Maybe just call it a cult classic.
I mean, I don't know what to categorize it other than it's the perfect film if you had any questions about where our society is today in firearms and wanted to look at a stripped down, raw image of what it is. And this is what it is. I mean, as you break it down, it's self-defense. As you break it down, it's their right to protect themselves from any sort of evil that there is. And I mean, he takes it upon himself to go hunt evil. You know, nowadays we have, you know, active enlistment in the military. Mm-hmm. So if you want to do that kind of thing, you go in there, and you put the bad guys on the defense. But you know, for domestic issues, you know, it's a great film for that.
The thing I found funny about it, too, is that Charles Bronson is actually a World War II veteran.
Is he?
Yeah.
I know nothing about him other than everyone raves, hoots, and hollers about him.
He's not that great of an actor. I hear he's like the 60s and 70s version of like
Is it Arnold?
yeah, like an Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like he's the action hero from that decade. But the thing I found funny is they called him a Korea vet. Now he might have been a Korea vet too, but he was indeed a World War II vet with a Purple Heart.
Well, that's interesting that they called him a Korea vet in the movie, and I wonder how he felt about that, being if he indeed served in World War II.
Yeah, he was in the Air Force. I don't know if he was in the Air Force or the U.S. Army Air Corps. I don't know when he served during the war. But, yeah, I just thought that was interesting.
Do you know which theater?
No. I know nothing about him other than he...
You know nothing?
I know nothing. Nothing? I just know that he earned a Purple Heart and that he served in the war. So he very well might have served in Korea as well.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, who knows?
Well, anyway, that was Death Wish. Hope you all enjoyed this adventure, and frankly, just go out and watch it.
I mean, it's honestly a movie I would buy just to have in my repertoire of movies to show people, like, there are good films out there, and this is one of them.
Yeah, it's actually, like you were saying, it is the quintessential self-defense film. You know, if you want to show someone, you know, like, what our soldiers go through and stuff like that, you do show them things like American Sniper or things like that.
Well, yeah, or like, you know, everyone's knee-jerk for, you know, what this movie kind of would bring to their thought would be like Red Dawn. You know, both the original and the remake, they would be like, oh, you know, why do you need guns? Oh, because, you know, an invading army. No, that's, you know, it's possible. Like, let's say, I'm not going to take anything off the table. You know, that obviously an invasion is very unlikely, but, you know, so, you know, Red Dawn is an unrealistic, in my eyes, you know, reason why we need firearms. But this is a reason why, you know, concealed carry is a big thing nowadays.
And they could argue that it's an escalation of force, like, oh, well, if you have a gun, you're more likely to get killed. But if they, you know, the film kind of shows, like, yeah, you know, okay, you may get killed, you know, if you have a gun, because, you know, he does get shot even though he has a gun. He doesn't die. But there are plenty of people out there who just die because they don't have any options, so they don't even get the...
Yeah, we don't know if that mugger in the beginning, you know, that he saved the...
They actually didn't have guns. That was made clear.
Well, I mean, no, we don't know if the muggy, didn't survive that white guy that was by the dumpster in the alley.
He wasn't a white guy.
No, he was a white guy.
No, that was just the lighting. They show him afterwards. Yeah, he survives.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's... Well, I mean, we don't know if... yeah, that's right. Yeah, I remember.
Because they ask him, like, was the man who shot these guys white? I don't know. Was he black? I don't know. And it's like clear that he doesn't want to say anything because he was grateful.
Yeah, he just, you know.
Some guy just came up and shot the guys that were robbing him, and that was it.
Yeah.
So, go out there. Watch Death Wish. Watch it with friends. Watch it alone. Yeah, this is one of the films that actually works as a watch-alone film.
Yeah, you can watch it alone, you know, and just feel, you know, like, all right, you know, I can justify my feelings towards, you know, X, Y, or Z. Or you can watch it with friends and, you know, have a nice, healthy discussion of on firearms and, you know, carrying. Or you could, you know, throw it on in the background of a party because, you know, there are some funny moments, you know? I mean, obviously not in the beginning, but, you know, you fast forward through that, you start it in the middle, you know?
Yeah, I suppose.
There's some funny things, like the Western scenes and, you know, just, you can have it in the background and, you know, if someone's like not paying attention and they look at the screen and it's just...
See some guy running and get shot.
And Charles Bronson's just looking down the barrel, you know, and I'd throw it on in any occasion.
All right. Perfect movie for a wedding.
Indeed.
All righty. Until next time, dear listener. See you out there.